Imperfect Gentleman Show.
We are Imperfect Gentlemen, the show which we men actually listen to exchange ideas with women on our quest to allegedly become better men. Our guests today are none other than the one and only
Soma.
No, we need to talk into the mic. Like, yeah.
Soma.
That was anticlimactic. Get comfortable. Be a part of the show. Soma and
Mya.
Oh, yes. And
Soma and Mya.
Just for a quick introduction to who Soma and Mya are. Soma, what do you do exactly?
I live my life.
That's great. But for the point of this show, let's just have a little more substance.
I just had a vision.
Yeah, say it like, why does it? Everyone's a philosopher.
I just had a vision. My third eye opened, and I sense that Soma's a fellow light worker, aren't you?
We can say it in that form too.
You are very close to Nirvana, my friend.
Is that how you're feeling? And what about you, Mya? Maybe we'll get a little more information. Soma thinks we're the FBI. What about you?
How did you know? I am working on, we are both actually working on a movement and a project on the moral perspective of sexuality, spreading awareness. And
That's amazing. And so that's why actually that lends why I decided our topic today. We were like, what should we talk about? We went through our list of everyone at home who emails us, and they can always email us at
imperfectshow@gmail.com
and let us know what you think and what you want us to talk about. But we were like, how important is sex? Because we live in a world as liberal as everyone thinks we are. We're actually very conservative when it comes to a lot of things, and sex is one of them. So love to have your perspective on the show today and talking about that. Like, how long has this been something that's near and dear close to your heart?
well, Soma and I both have two completely different stories. For me, this is a brand new journey. It started last year when I went to a festival called Intimacy Fest. And prior to
What's
that,
Intimacy Fest?
I really need to know what.
Like I feel like we need to know and go to Intimacy Fest.
Yes, I will connect you guys to the
please connect us.
coordinator. It was a 3-day retreat at this beautiful oasis where people really showed up. You could be, nude. It was full expression. You could be clothed, and there were workshops, multiple workshops on communication, on how to flirt, on intimacy. There was a play party that if you wanted to participate or not participate. So it was.
What's a play party?
We have questions.
Please
we have
ask
questions
away.
and Soma, feel free to jump in. You can be a part of the show unless you're so busy living your life that you don't want to talk about these topics.
She is so present in this moment right now.
I'll jump in a perfect moment.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So what is a play party?
Yeah. Sounds like it
sounds like an orgy.
It sounds like an orgy. Like Jordan and I are like both like,
same wavelength. Right?
There's an orgy. You guys went to like Orgy Fest 2017, and then you guys were like, oh shit, we came so hard. We need to start doing this for a living.
Pretty much. So yes, it is an orgy.
Yeah.
And it's. For me, I would just like to express how I had participated in this play party. As I was a voyeur. It was my first time being in that
So you just
environment.
watched?
I just watched, and it was so sexy. It was very sexy. It was such a turn on to be able to watch everyone express themselves. There were strap-ons, and it was amazing to be able to see how people communicated their boundaries and their desires, and it just made so much sense.
All because there were strap-ons. That's how it makes sense to me. I've always been like, yo, if they're not strap-ons, what are we really doing here? That's how I felt.
But
now I understand.
With everything in the headlines, where does consent come to play in this massive Georgie orgy?
They paid to be there, bro. That's consent. Like they paid. It's like if you hired a prostitute and then she slept with you and then you were like, this bitch raped me.
Yeah,
like,
but at least you get to pick the prostitute. What if you're in this orgy and there's certain people in the orgy you don't want to hook up with?
You just don't, I would assume, right? Please tell me, right?
Correct. So consent is just so much more than just the sexual aspect of it. It's about communication and actually knowing what you are comfortable with and having the courage to be able to speak when you are uncomfortable. So when, you know, you go to a play party, there's a huge realm of different types of play parties, from like very wild, kinky ones to more like cuddle based. But if you go to one where it is, you know, very consensual focus, they'll actually go you through an exercise of learning how to receive rejection as well. Because you know, when you want to say no to people, but then you also feel bad. You're like, oh, am I going to hurt their feelings? But really,
Look,
the no
if a strap on comes near my booty hole, I'm not going to be
hurting
here. Hell no.
everybody's feelings.
I mean, have you tried it? That's
Hell
what
no.
No, but here's
Or
the
you
thing.
can say hell no.
I'll tell you
Hell
why.
no.
There are things that, like, okay, some people are like, well, have you tried it? But I also just know things aren't for me. And that, I feel like, is also a boundary people need to respect. We live in a world where people keep telling you everything has to be for you. And I don't feel that like that's fair. That's the same, that's like bullying on the other side. And people are
Absolutely.
like, I feel like the same way that we've always accused conservatives of bullying, now we have like liberals and open-minded people, quote unquote, who are bullying. And that's not being open-minded at all. That's just being closed-minded, but to the left, as opposed to being closed-minded and to the right.
That reminds me of what happened with, is it Genuine? Is that how he says his name? I just know him for the Pony song. When Genuine, he actually refused to kiss a transgender person at his concert, and he received all this backlash. But at that point, like, did preference come into play, or was it discrimination? You know, and there are questions like that arise, especially when you triggered those thoughts when you talked about the play party. Because, and I like what you said, understanding the boundaries and exploring at the same time. You said it more eloquently. What was the word you used besides exploring? You had boundaries, and then you had
expressing your desires.
Expressing your desire. Boom, you're a
Ooh,
poet,
what is your
spoken like a
desire?
poet. And, you know, sometimes I want to express my desires with my preference. And my boundary does not mean that I want to isolate someone or single them out. It's just that's not what my preference is. And how do you differentiate between that and the play party? That was where I was getting to.
And also, I have one little thing to add over there. Where is the preference coming from?
Oh, that's some
Hold on, but
third
here's the
dimension
thing.
stuff.
You can say that about anything, right? So we're
I like
saying,
that.
oh, the preference is programmed in. But here's the concept, is that regardless, everyone is programmed to whatever extent. So when that goes into play, then what happens if you're like, it's a slippery slope? What if you say, well, no, you have to be open to everything. And so how do you know that's not part of a programming too? I'm saying this is my whole concept when it comes to things like this. I'm not saying my way is right. I'm simply saying my way is right for me.
And all I'm saying is that my boundary comes from my prostate examination, where I was penetrated and I don't want to be penetrated again.
That really affected you, bro.
It did.
So how do you feel about that concept? Like, where was the boundary in this play?
Okay, there are a lot of elements in terms of both questions. They're kind of both different questions. So to address you earlier,
Mr. GK.
Yes, Mr. GK.
No, I'm GK Supreme today.
GK Supreme.
You know, the whole Genuine situation, I mean, you're absolutely correct, is just taken way out of proportion. And the highlight is the transgender, but in actuality, like, no one else was asking about, like, well, what is the privacy that you feel? Because for me, when I'm kissing someone, I want that to be an intimate thing. Once you start exposing that and just kissing just because in public, like, what does that actually mean to you? And so it's a little bit different as well. And then your question was about the boundaries. What was your question?
Like, it's about programming. Like, people always try, well, you feel that way because of X, Y, and Z, but okay, but I feel this way. So why do I have to unfeel it?
Yeah.
You know, as long as I don't try to push it and persevere it on you.
Right.
It's me. It's right for me.
Right. That definitely wasn't a statement of, you know, imposing my opinion where you have to try it as well. I'm just more of a person where, you know, if someone told me a story, like, don't touch the stove because it's going to burn you, but I've never been burned before, I'm never going to fully understand the whole you know, the whole spectrum of what it feels like to be burned, what it means, like the pain, like the process through it. So I'm the type of person that will just do it anyways and then come to my own conclusion, as opposed to being this secondary conclusion of like, this is what I think I would feel.
So would you argue that teenagers should all try crack or heroin so they can make the decision for themselves not to use crack or heroin?
Dun, dun, dun. Welcome to the Imperfect Gentleman Show.
So I can only speak for myself, but I mean, that's very wide. So yes and no, right? So
I was hoping you'd be like, I can only speak for myself. I'm a crack whore. That's the best answer of all time.
I tweak all day. Yeah. So I was very young. I was like 13 smoking crack. So I'm very familiar, but I'm now at a point in my life where, because I understood, like I built a relationship
with crack.
With crack. And then I built a relationship with the withdrawals. And then I built a relationship with getting over it and what it served for me at the time, which was a release. And so I understood why we had that relationship.
Amazing.
So to actually just tell a child, like, don't do coke, like, I'm going to sit here, or don't do crack, like, I'm going to sit here the entire time, like, why? I don't understand. And as humans, we have these curiosities and these urges, and to be able to, and to have someone like suppress us and impose this idea, that's where all of this rebellion comes from. That's where all of these, I call them tantrums, when someone just, you know, when you have this reaction.
It's like when I get certain pains in my body from my injuries, like it's called a flare-up. That's what it reminds me of. It's like this flare-up.
Exactly.
So you're saying we have sociological flare-ups because we try to tell people and restrict behaviors.
Absolutely.
Sure. Or we also don't have a bunch more crackheads. Here's my thing. Like, I understand like where you're coming from. You're wrong. But, and I'll explain how that works. So if everyone touches the stove and has to burn their hand to understand pain, then we'll just have a whole world full of people with burnt hands. And then we won't be able to do things later when we actually need that hand not to be burnt. So I understand that you were able, and I admire the fact that you were able to persevere that. But I'm sure a part of you is like, damn, I wish I wasn't 13 and using crack, because now I would have been blah, blah, blah. I don't know if everyone needs to follow the same path. So when we say that this is the path we lay out, and here's the thing I want people to understand about the law and societal rules and things like that. It's one size fits all. Sure, it sucks when you fall on that I'm in the gray area part. But for the most part, we're saving a lot of people in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not saying that about all laws, but I'm saying that, for example, seatbelt law. Yeah, you're right. Maybe that one guy survived the crash because he didn't have a seatbelt, and he landed because he did a backflip and landed on his feet.
I was actually that one guy.
You know
when I was 11, I flew out of a car, didn't have my seatbelt on, and I survived. And I was like, they said I was less injured than if I just stayed in the car, would have gotten crushed.
It would have been worse. You would have got crushed by the truck or whatever.
Why am I the outlier, bro?
Why are you in so many car accidents? That's the conversation we need to have, bro. Who has evil eyed you?
Me? Yeah, I have an idea of who.
Yo, so the concept is like I feel like on one hand, I understand that logic, right? I understand how nice it is to feel the way you do, but I can't fully agree with it because most of the world isn't as, let's say, quote unquote, enlightened as you, right? Most people don't have the opportunity or the means or the experiences or whatever it was that got you there, right? If you had been a different race, different sex, different gender, different sexuality, who knows how you would have felt the same exact stimuli? Would you have ended up being the same? I don't know. What I do know is that if crack was just legal, there would be a lot more crackheads in the world. If, like, even with cigarettes, we use cigarettes less now because we've said, hey, cigarettes are bad for you. And people, now we actually look at people who smoke and go, you're dumb for smoking. Like, you're just smoking poison, right? Because we've come to that foregone conclusion. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand, like, sexuality doesn't really hurt other people for the most part. Like, there are sexual boundaries that I'll always be like, bestiality and pedophilia should probably be a no. You know, that's probably a no. I don't know if that's your guys' boundary. We're actually hoping that you guys go, actually, we just start, you know, but other than that, I mean, within reason, you know what I'm saying? Forced sex is a no. There should be no forced sexuality of any time. Like,
you said forced, right?
Yeah, forced sex. Like, I don't feel like any time, unless it's like a rape fantasy, and then it's not forced, right? Mm-hmm. But rape is wrong. Pedophilia is wrong. And bestiality to me is wrong. Other than that,
So with what Tehran's saying, he's named some extremes, which most people, if not all, would agree is just black and white wrong. Do you have any of those matters in these conferences or play parties where like a panel agrees that, okay, this is too far? Because both of you seem like very free spirits, which I personally admire of the two of you. I'm not one for many boundaries or limitations, and I think that life is all about experiencing. I would probably be the closest thing to an almost crackhead that you've ever met. And what I want to know is, now speaking to other two like minds who are free spirits, free souls, where do we now draw the line, as Tehran was referring to and made some very valid points? How do we know which line to draw? And this could be not only the play party, but just in general in sexuality.
Well, for starters, the depth of how someone gets to the point where they are using force it's almost like desperation, right? And it's almost like this confusion. And so I'm not condoning or am I negating the actions of how someone has gotten to the point where they feel they need to rape somebody. But
you can understand the action. You can comprehend what leads up to it, even without condoning, of course.
Exactly. And so it has a lot to do with our societal suppression of just like talking about it. So, our children are raised and it's like you see kissing or sex on the TV. It's like close your eyes, and then you get to school and in the 5th grade, they're showing you videos of like a child's coming out of, a vagina. And then you get freaked out and they still don't talk to you about sex. Mm-hmm. And then you're in this awkward phase where your hormones start, growing, and then you start feeling these urges and these ideas. No one is talking to you about it. So your only source is ultimately pornography. And the thing about pornography, it's actually not bad. Like having straight pornographic fucking is so amazing. Like it's so good, but it's a form of sexual expression. So if we're teaching our children that this is just one form and there are other forms and there are outlets and we can talk about it, we can communicate, we can ask questions, and we can have these curiosities fulfilled, then it wouldn't be all of these ideas and these questions being suppressed. So when you start having these little like forceful reactions, it's because you don't have an outlet for them.
Interesting.
I really like your viewpoint. It's like it's the nip it from the bud philosophy. So I'm speaking about trying to limit the result, and what you're speaking about is developing society where the result never needs to happen, where people are groomed into it. And it reminded me, when I was younger, my mother used to cover my eyes when a sex scene came on. When I got to a certain age, I realized that that's how she created me. And she's a hypocrite, and you're blocked on Facebook, Mom.
Yeah.
Soma, what are your personal boundaries? Like, do you even have any?
I normally, I do have a lot of personal boundary, actually, and I'm pretty open at the same time. My main compass is my body. I feel I was actually raised in Tehran in a very, very suppressed, that sex actually is going to take me away from God. If I masturbate, I'm going to be like called, I have to confess and like ask. And it was really, they really made me confused.
Wow, that's intense. Yeah.
I was pretty confused. And I see that a lot of people have sex with the mind. It's not really physical body, like what the body wants. Actually, maybe I meet somebody, it does something to my body that I call it, I have a crush on. And then if I do everything with awareness, my body will tell me like if I want to go more with this person or with this person. My boundaries like don't even look at me. But this person, like instantly, like I would even feel like my legs are like kind of opening for me to receive. Because active sex to me is, if you look at these bodies, like a computer, flesh computer, obviously. When the penis goes in, is like memory card. What is in your nervous system? What do I have? There is an exchange energy happening over there. That's why you get
such a cool.
That's
analogy.
why you get attracted to someone.
The USB input, software, hardware, sex.
There's a reason you get attracted to someone and you don't. There's the energy. There's an energetic part, the invisible part that tells you no, and that is my boundary. Like I wait, I meditate. I try to not decide with my mind, oh, am I not liking this girl because I thought I am not lesbian? I raised in Iran, and any girl cannot like a girl. But then why do I feel something for her? So is that my mind? Okay, I'm going to trust my body. And that's all I always say. And how I learn, because there's too many ways about sex, there's too many traditions. I watch animals to see how they approach, because they don't have a mind.
Sure.
To see what's the way. I think there is a way.
Isn't that anti the way we are in civilization? The concept is that we are in our own ways above animals. We are civil, right? And that's the concept of what civilization is supposed to be. Not that it plays out that way, but that's how it's supposed to be. So that humanity is control. It's not just animals look at what they do, because animals also kill indiscriminately because they are upset or feel attacked. And if we did that, hungry, there are consequences to our actions. So do we just say, hey, I'm going to give in to my animal urges?
I have a very interesting point of view about this. I feel I am everything beyond animals, and I am here to play with elements, because it's not an eternal anything that we're trying to reach. Yeah. Everything exists here at all the time. My perspective, or I don't even want to call it mine, how I see it, I feel the observer of me is that eternal experiences of all, but I'm here temporarily to experience an animal experience, be physical, not be an image, be physical, have a physical body.
Do you believe that your upbringing in Iran was pivotal for you to have this sense of enlightenment, that if you weren't in that environment where everything was restricted or confined, that you may have never reached this stage?
Exactly. So what you said, that rape is bad, it is bad, but there's beauty in the dark. We learn a lot of our lessons in the darkness too. I was raised as a child in a war between Iran and Iraq. It was so intense, just the experience going through the war, running for your life. And also after that, there's many things going on with religious part that I have to semi-close, not fully raped. I have experienced being taken by the guards and trying to be raped, but I was smart enough to get out from it. So I have a lot of experiences that I see made me who I am. And if I would go back and I don't have these experiences and I wouldn't be who I am now, I say, okay, let's do it again. I'll go through the war. It's okay that man be the dark angel, come try to rape me, for me to bring a certain consciousness for me to get out of that and understand, like, we can actually, in any situation, there is a part of us that come out that
silver lining, people. What you are listening to right now is a very positive person, a lady who has used her struggles and turned them into triumph.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when I hear people talk like this, and I see people like you guys, and I'm like, wow, it must be so beautiful, and like it's so freeing. And at the same time, I think even more, how the fuck do you people make money? Like, how do you work? Like, where do you pay your bills? Like, I need to understand how the world works in that regard. Like, when I see people with tattoos on their face, I'm like, nigga, where'd you get a job? Like, who hired you? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you pay for shit? Like, how do you eat?
So we are human beings living the spiritual experience, but we are also spiritual beings living the human experience. Yeah. So a part of
I don't have a soul, I am the soul.
And so a part of, you know, what the lifestyle that we live and our approach and perspective, we still have the capacity to integrate that into our professional realms as well. So are we financially supported in other ways outside of us just spreading awareness? Absolutely.
Interesting. Well, good. I mean, it's always nice to know. What are those outside ways?
Can you teach me how you do that? Because I've been trying to do that for
what are those outside ways? Right now, like, what do you, y'all drive Uber, right? This is when you get in the Uber car and you're like, what is this bitch telling me right now? Like, I'm just trying to get to 7-Eleven. Why is she having this conversation? These are the Uber drivers.
You know what that reminds me of? It's like, if you look at my GoDaddy account, I've purchased like 50 different domains. And simply because I've purchased these domains, I feel like I'm an entrepreneur, when in reality, I just paid for a website that I don't use.
Yo, I don't know how that connected to anything. I think you just went to like...
Because it made me think that...
I think you wanted to bitch about the GoDaddy. Should we?
No, I did. I did want to be worried about the GoDaddy. Oh, my died. But I did want to be worried about the GoDaddy. But also, the point is, I feel like as an enlightened person, sometimes I don't want to follow structure, so I don't want to be in a corporate environment. So what I try and do is be an entrepreneur and use that free spirit as an entrepreneurial spirit. And like Tehran's saying is, for me, it didn't really ever manifest or translate. So that's why I asked you, how do you do it? Because I found myself not being able to function in structure, but usually structure is where, in today's society, is where most of the financial rewards are without the risk. So I feel like for a long time, I've been taking this risk without manifesting the financial reward. And it's hard. It's hard for people to kind of, I mean, to some extent, what you're saying, I've heard some anarchists use some of the same points. Not saying that you're anarchist, but usually they're anti-structure people. That sometimes is appealing, but then it's like, okay, society does have a set structure of monetizing, and it's exponentially harder to have a living when you're outside of that. But at the same time, if you believe that this isn't your only lifetime, you're not an atheist, you believe that there are different life cycles, then you could look at this as a grain of rice in the bag, and that, hey, there's more to come, so who cares if I'm broke in this lifetime? I want to elevate my mind to get to the next. And some mornings I wake up feeling that way, but those are the same mornings where I don't have money to buy nice food. So, I don't know.
This idea of structure, I'm not even really into words. I'd rather just sit here and just stare with you and communicate telepathically. So I'm going to use the word structure. But if you view your day or your week or your month in terms of working, the structure that you build is the frame to your house. And so you're not actually like, on Monday at 2:00, I'm doing this, this, and this, and then I'm working between 8 and 5. That sounds really, really exhausting. And so it's creating a structure of okay, within 2 weeks, I need to make sure I color coordinate my calendar. That's what I do. I do my lavender colors are my vibrational stuff, like my yoga and my meditations. And then my yellows are events. And then, my red are my working. So then by the end of the week, I'm looking at my calendar oh shit, I didn't have enough lavenders in here. I need to do more meditative stuff, or I need to go to more events. And so that's the type of structure. So if you put in there blocks of time where you work, and especially co-working for me is really, really big. Just because we do need that support. We're not meant to work alone. So I do work a lot with other people.
That's very interesting. And I actually think both of you are amazingly enlightened people and would probably be amazing in bed, but could never, ever, ever be anywhere near any children that I have. Okay, so we have some things we want to discuss, and I want to get your perspective. Really quick, a kidney transplant. So this guy in South London, he actually gave the girl that he's with his kidney. Okay, he had her. She needed a transplant. Gave it to her, and then he proposed to marry her, and she rejected his marriage and broke up with him. Please explain this, women. Women, please. I need to understand that. Is this the ultimate gold digger? Is this?
That's a body digger, bro.
Yeah.
What if she didn't feel love?
Grave digger.
Grave digger.
I mean, the love can't happen through that. I mean, I can see that part too.
I understand that. I understand what you're
Do you
going
think
at.
she should have married him? Because
I also think if I take you to Cheesecake Factory, you owe me anal. So I'm not really the person that you should really understand. I feel like Cheesecake Factory's not cheap, bitch. You know what I'm saying?
that was a good
It's
one.
not expensive enough.
So if I give you
Can I interject? You aimed the question at the women, but I want to respond.
I want
feel
to understand
attached.
from the women, and I'm not blaming her, but
I feel attached to this situation. And when I give, true giving, words of the week, true giving is giving with no expectation of receiving back. So if that man truly gave the kidney at that time, the burden is lifted. Whether she stays with him or not, whether he sees it tomorrow or not, whether she sees it tomorrow or not, is irrelevant to his intention of giving. He gave the kidney. That was sometimes, and what I realize is when I give, I feel like I've received a gift myself. The gift of giving.
But that to me is the argument of giving a gift. So if I'm giving you a gift because it makes me feel good, then I'm not truly giving. A truly giving act, right, is one of selflessness, which is why we have myths and stories and ideologies of God and a person who's able to do so without receiving. Because man is selfish.
So he selflessly gave it, then he shouldn't expect anything back, right?
And you can't buy it. You can't buy love too. That's another thing.
We live in LA. I think you can. I've seen it happen multiple times. This was All-Star Weekend. A lot of love was being bought and sold this weekend past.
Well, the true love though.
So there, this is one side about him, his side, but really her side is that we have a right to change our mind. Just because I love you now doesn't mean I will love you tomorrow. So
yeah, 100%.
So him in exchange of a kidney.
Should have thought of that before you got the kidney, bitch. Look, it's a kidney. Yeah. This isn't. Oh, I gave you a gift card to Macy's.
That is kind of real. Like that's a body part.
It's not like, oh, here you go. Here's a Sephora handbag. No, this is. Here's a Burberry purse. This is a kidney. I gave you my kidney because I was under the understanding that we were in love. And then you got the kidney recovered, and then we're like, you know what? Don't love you.
So, Tehran, you think it's wrong?
I think that I understand no expectation, and I think that guys, especially because men tend to think, "Oh, I did this for you. I want something back." And to be fair, women do the same thing, except they do it with emotional things because they keep a list of emotion stuff that they've supported you, and they bring that shit up every time. Oh, but remember the time that I XYZ'd and you didn't blah blah. Then, bitch, why'd you do it? I didn't ask for it. You did it on your own, right? You did it. And now you're expecting. But then when I pay for something, because girls love emotion and it seems guys like action, right? Okay.
I love emotion.
Yeah, well, you're a girl. So the concept is I gave a kidney to you, okay? That's a diamond ring, bitch.
Then you must fall in love with me?
That's like, it's not you must fall. We were in love and I gave you, I don't just go around giving kidneys to strangers. It's not like I gave kidney to some random Bosnian kid that was in the hospital. I gave my girl my kidney and now she breaks up with me. Like, and it's not like she broke up with me a year later, 3 years later. This is immediately after recovery. Immediately it was like, by the way, I don't feel, she knew. She knew before.
You feel like she played him.
I feel like she got played. And I feel like girls play guys and play this innocent victim role a lot of times. And a lot of times we victimize women, but a lot of times they manipulate a situation at the same time.
So after Tehran's argument, I've switched over to his side. I now think that it was wrong. We have two wrongs. Do you both think it's still okay for her to leave?
Of course it's okay to leave. What I'm saying is she knew. That's all I'm saying. Oh, she knew.
So given that she knew what she was doing, was it still okay? And we're assuming that too because we don't have the facts.
We don't know. We don't know what they really felt. No.
I think she could have said, "I'm not in love with you, and if you want to give me your kidney because of your own love and this makes you happy, then it's okay. But I'm not in love with you, and that it doesn't make you in love. Then honesty comes.
Should she have refunded the kidney? Should she have refunded the kidney?
No, I would have kept the kidney and kept it moving. So I'm not mad at her.
Yeah.
I'm just mad at the fact that she did it, but I'm not mad. I didn't play on player. I respect her game. In other news, real quick, Black Panther came out and is breaking all types of records. Apparently made $450 million worldwide and is a source of a lot of controversy because of the movie.
I am unfamiliar with the comic and the movie.
It's black people on movies and they got paid a lot of money. Now let's go. That's basically.
I just saw the trailer.
What's the controversy?
The controversy is people are like, some people are upset that Black Panther is so heralded and why it means so much to black people. Some people are upset that there's leading black people and it shouldn't matter. I mean, honestly, that's a great point. What is the controversy? Congratulations, Black Panther.
Congrats.
You know what I'm saying?
To Black
if you hate it, you're a fucking hater, bro.
You hate it, you're hating.
You're a fucking hater.
Period.
Exactly. All you KKK members, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? I'm popping, right? No one gave a shit. Lord of the Rings, 15 movies, not a single nigga in sight. You got one movie. Yeah. Let us live. You know what I'm saying? Can we live, nigga?
Facts.
Yo. All right. So on the same side, there's a little good controversy with LeBron James and Laura Ingraham, who's a Fox News TV host, says that LeBron and people like him, Kevin Durant, etc., shouldn't give their political opinions. They should just shut up and dribble. That is exactly, the comment is shut up and dribble. That's what you should do. And I don't know if she ever told Jack Nicklaus shut up and golf. You know? So not your guys' forte. Okay.
No,
That's a new thing, and it's called classism. And classism is a new racism. I am a god.
Yeah, there you go.
That's actually a quote from Kanye West. So what Kanye West is saying,
it's real though. That's so real.
That's classism, and I agree with my boy Kanye here. Like, just because you're good at basketball, you suck at politics, and even worse than sucking at politics, you're not allowed to have a voice. That's insane. Yeah. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah. So
Kanye they made Kanye look like he was over the top in the clip, but that clip was eye-opening for me.
100%. And every week we have an Imperfect Gentleman of the Week. This week's Imperfect Gentleman of the Week is none other than Elizabeth Sweeney. And if you're not familiar with Elizabeth Sweeney, she is an Olympic skier who sucks at skiing. And what she did is she tricked the system by switching her American citizenship to Hungarian by going to her grandparents, and then qualifying by simply showing up for events and losing because other people would fall or get hurt and she wouldn't. She would just slide down. And so she qualified, and then she became the 34th best skier in the world doing this. Literally, this is what she did.
And she also dumped her boyfriend after he gave the kidney to her.
No, but 14 people, because they only take the top 20, and 14 other people were unavailable or unable to make them for whatever reason, broken hams, this, that. And America and every country could only take 4. And so she basically schemed the system into becoming an Olympic athlete.
She's a genius.
And she's a genius. Exactly.
Round of applause.
Everyone's hating her.
Yeah,
and I love her. You know what I'm saying? That's a dream of all of us. Okay, so I do want to go into this concept, and this is why we enjoy having you as guests. What and how important is sex in a relationship?
I say that is the relationship. Sex is the relationship.
That is. So if you're
you trying to go to dinner? Like, what? You like Cheesecake Factory?
That is. I mean, what if you have kids? Isn't kids now the relationship? Or what if one of you gets injured and you can't even have sex?
Well, what if
anymore?
you're old?
Yeah, what if you're old?
I think 90-year-olds aren't really fucking. Oh, actually, they are.
Yeah, are you familiar with senior citizen homes? There's a lot
and they're
of
getting
sex.
the STDs.
I have a feeling Tehran's going to be sexually active till like 104.
I'm going to die by 50. I don't even think I'm past 51.
Probably dying through sex too. That's the best way of dying.
Is it? So how important is sex?
Sex, I would like to really clearly distinguish between the difference between sex and a relationship, because a lot of people they do have a relationship with each other, but having a relationship with somebody is completely different than the act of enjoying bliss. And that's the reason why it's so complicated and intertwined, is because the expectation of sex is a relationship majority of the time. So how important sex is in a relationship, it's so important, because at this moment in which you're actually immersing yourself in the act is when you are all open. You're so vulnerable. Your face, you're making animal noises. You don't care. You're making these noises. Your body are shaking. You're having your orgasm. And so at that moment, you are at the most present, enjoying this bliss.
Do you like Cheesecake Factory? Okay. So if you would have to say on a scale of 1 to 10, sex is how important? 10? 10. You're giving it a 10.
10.
20.
And that's fair.
10,
that's fair.
20.
And how is trust built in sex? Like what does sex mean? What are the components rather than just the physical aspects?
In trust?
No, like in general, what are some of the...
Communication.
That's
completely. So I was in this experience with the partner. We both at the beginning communicated with each other that we were both exploring. So we got a chance to actually like look at each other's bodies, you know, like get in between and see what.
Yeah, it looks like he stuck his head in your vagina. The way you're doing it. Okay.
Yeah, but what he did tell me one time, the reason why I feel safe exploring with you is because I know that you have the courage to tell me when you're uncomfortable.
Oh, that's strong.
So it's that communication and having the trust with each other to be able to let yourself go and experiment and enjoy.
And say what you like and what you don't like and how fast your speed is. And just basically being in the body than in the head.
Yeah, because it's almost as if everyone expects us to just know what to do.
Exactly. And they think everybody's the same. I'm completely different. And also not taking personal for guys as well to say, when I say I like this, that means that I like, because it doesn't mean that you don't know what to do. That means we just need to learn how to do me.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm gonna stop this.
Yeah, we have to stop. We have to stop because we have. Where can people find you? Where can people find you when? Where can people find you? We need to have you back on the show to have more.
Yeah,
of this
we need more of this.
Where can people find you if you want them to find you?
Soma Vibration online, and also Unboo the Taboo on Instagram, Facebook. The website is coming up, and yeah.
And Mya?
Same, Unboo the Taboo, Mya Nguyen.
And we're looking forward to your guys' projects, and we'll hopefully see them soon. Of course, I am Tehran. We're out of time. I'm so sorry, but we're here each and every week.
Hey, I'm here too. I am GK.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. At I am Tehran all across the board. I am Tehran. Literally, I am Tehran alongside.
I'm GK Supreme, but my handle's Mr. George Corey. I'm not going to make Tehran spell my last
name.
name.
And that's KHOURI.
Okay,
and we are
Imperfect
Gentlemen. Remember, nobody's perfect. But us. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Martin, for handling the board.
Yes.